as far as work is concerned, Anna, I still have a lot of, including with you and Peter
yes,
and Litovkina. There's always one project after another, and if I can be a little bit of a player in the international paremiological club, so to speak, I'd like to do that a little bit longer.
I just would like to show to our audience some other books. So I have already shown my first book, which was published together with you, and it was published in Vermont, and the second publication of this book was in Tasmania.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Theodor Flonta did that, right?
Yes. And we have published a book in Hungarian language. It was published.
I'm very proud of that, especially since I had very little to do with it.
So, it was published in 2005, and this book was published there in 2006. It was our second proverb collection.
Anna, that book I use quite a bit. I quote out of it, just like you do. You know, so I use that. That was the book that was published jointly at West Brame and in Burlington.
And in Burlington. Yes, and last year, together with Wolfgang, we published this book. So it was published by Cambridge Scholars. And
you know, Anna, maybe people think you and I are married. That wouldn't be so bad. You never know, you know. Oh, that's cute.
So actually, I will ask you a number of questions about your wife.
Yeah, you know, my wife, Barbara, you know, Barbara, she said to me, "What the hell do you know about marriage, Wolfgang?" I said, "Well, Anna is the expert. I'm just the worker."
Yes, okay, but I'm not married now, and you are the guy who is married, and you are the guy who has been married for how many decades have you been married?
Barbara and I have been married for 51 years.
For 51 years, wow. Okay, so I should very shortly I should prepare another interview. It will be a very different interview. Your pieces of advice how to be happily married.
Well, I don't know. It's maybe it's just a matter of tolerating each other. Well,
yeah. So tolerating each other.
It's been a good run. We are nicely matched, I have to admit.
Wolfgang, last year you sent to me your CV. Now I haven't asked you to send it because I know that every day or every week you publish another book, or every second week you publish another book, another article. So do you know how many books have you published so far?
Well, I think, Anna, it of course depends, you know, there are edited books, there are, you know, books that are truly completely written as a book. Well, the number has added up in the last 50 years. I will admit.
Yes, I know. So
but you know, people ask me, what drives you, Wolfgang?
But Wolfgang, sorry. I have to interrupt you. You haven't answered my questions. So how many books have you published so far? Either yourself,
do you know?
Or your co-authors? No, I don't.
I suppose it goes beyond 100. I know that.
It's more than 100. No, it's more. It was. I think it was more than 200 many years.
Yeah, probably. So let's leave it. Let's leave it with that. Let's leave it with that.
And how many articles? How many articles have you?
I don't know. Maybe 400 or 500, I suppose.
I think it's more. Or a few years ago, it was more.
Well.
Yes, and I would like to show. This volume.
Yeah.
This is the last one, or at least
the new one is finished.
The new was in finished. Okay, it's Proverbium, Yearbook of International Proverb Scholarship, and Wolfgang published the first one. It was 37 years ago.
1984.
Yeah,
it started in 1984. Yeah.
So this is just unbelievable. And at home, I have 36 volumes of this.
This has been a labor of love, but you know, Anna, it has given me a chance to serve, you know, friends like you and also newcomers, you know, people who write for the first time about proverbs and so on. So that has been, I mean, I can honestly say Proverbium has been my child, so to speak. I give much of my time to it, and if I may say so, much of my financial support to it, as you know.
Yes, I know.
I don't mind that. I don't want any praise for it. You know, we all decide where to make a commitment. You know, so Proverbium to me has been one of those commitments where, as long as I can do it, maybe a couple, 3 more years, I will do it. You know, what will happen to Proverbium, and it isn't just Proverbium, Anna, what will happen to Proverbium after I stop, and that is coming, as you well know, I fear and certainly understand if it doesn't come out in printed form anymore. Electronically, to continue Proverbium electronically with you and Ristalina and whomever else, Melita maybe if she's interested, that I think will be feasible. But to print it, and Anna, it is the mailing. The mailing would kill you. The
Very
mailing,
expensive, yes, I know.
The mailing alone is over $5,000 a year.
And many of us are so grateful to you for you sending us.
Nice of you to say, but and thank you. But as I say, it's one of those commitments that I made to Matti Kuusi at the time, you know, and also to Galit Hassan Rokem, who kind of did the negotiations of getting Matti Kuusi, my dear friend, to let Proverbium move to America. Remember, Proverbium, as you know, Annachen, was dead in Finland. And then you and Vilmos Voigt started Proverbium, which of course, the end was your dissertation published, you know, and then it died. So, but then I still had to ask Matti Kuusi if I could continue it. And he was not at all necessarily at the beginning in favor of it. Not against me, but he thought it should stay in Europe, which I think was understandable. And then Galit, who was of course his student, she said to him, look, Matti, Wolfgang is the only one, since Vilmos could not continue with it, he said, Wolfgang is the only one who's willing and able to do it. And then he agreed. And then in my correspondence with Matti Kuusi, every year he wrote me how pleased he was, you know, and you know, of course, that Proverbium became a yearbook and not just, you know, a 30-page issue.
Yes.
But that Proverbium has an interesting history, and it would be nice if it could continue. And I think it will.
I'm sure it will.
Quite hopeful. You know, the other issue, Anna, that I think there are two things with the things that you and I love, namely proverbs. There is, of course, that giant field of phraseology, of which, you know, if you want to look at it this way, you could say phraseology could be the umbrella, and underneath it is all kinds of stuff. Proverb studies as well. There is such an explosion, Anna, of publishing in phraseology, and so that hardcore proverb studies, you know, are almost kind of being almost, I don't mean this, but you know, it's just, let me put it this way. The wealth of publications in phraseology is getting to the point that you and I don't know anymore which of those articles deal with proverb issues. Another reason why I think it is so, I always tell my students, be sure you work on your titles of your papers so that I know what the major point of your article is. In other words, don't use the word phraseologism when your article is actually about proverbs.
Proverbs, yes, 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 yes.
It would help. You know, so those are some little developments, but at the same token, I think. What do you think, Anna? Do you think proverb studies are growing a little bit?
I think they are.
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, of course, you know, just what is happening in your country. Hungary has always been a strong field in proverb studies, but still, in Eastern Europe, there's certainly great interest.
Yes, yes. So actually, in Hungary, we can really be proud of.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Poland, I think,
Poland
is
as well. Yes.
very doing great work. You know, I think Scandinavia is not as strong as it used to be.
As it used to be. Yeah.
I mean, Auti Lahokangas, you know, Matti Kuusi's daughter, and Pekka Hakamies, but that's Finland. But in Denmark and in Sweden and Norway, it is not that strong. There's Harald in Norway, but they used to be much stronger in proverbs. Africa is strong, of course. So,
Wolfgang, I have the following question. When you were a child, did you ever want to become famous?
good Lord, no.
but
I am not now either, but no.
Okay, but do you know that you are, Wolfgang, you are an extremely famous scholar. So just a couple of hours before the interview, I just thought that let me Google you. So how many times is your name mentioned? And I was absolutely amazed. Absolutely amazed.
I never. It shows you I've never.
So you never Googled yourself.
No. Anna, I know I never. You know, kind of the reason why I left Germany, Anna, was not only because I wanted to come to America. The other reason was that my father had taken me to professional counseling meeting. And because my other dream was to become a forest ranger. And to this day, I remember there was that Prussian forester who stood in front of me, you know, I'm, as you know, relatively small, and pointed at me and said, you will never become a forest ranger. The reason being because I have glasses. You couldn't have glasses at that time to be a forest ranger. So my world was absolutely destroyed. I'm being serious. I mean, that was my dream. I had studied books on forest, and then I had this person in the western part of Germany where I would go in the summer. He was a forest ranger. My whole world was shattered. So that's another reason why I fell so much in love with him, with America. So had I stayed in Germany, I don't know what would have become of me. I talking about depressed. I was depressed then, maybe once in my life. And that's when I decided, okay, I'll go my own way, making a way out of no way. Remember? No, all that I've ever done in my life, Anna, is try to be positive, work hard, and help other people. That's all that I've ever done. If it has amounted to something, well, that is the icing on the cake, as the proverbial expression. You know, to be honest, though, Anna, I am amazed at the Festschriften that you pointed out, and I mean, I have known so many truly famous people. We've already mentioned many of them. And if some people, you know, kind people like you think I belong in a circle of established folklorists and proverb scholars, well, obviously at my age, that pleases me.
Wolfgang, you are really the best one, really. So, and look, I mean, you know that, for example, I dedicated this book to you.
Oh yeah, that is a good book. I've always enjoyed it.
And you know that this book, which was published in Hungarian language by my co-authors Kristalina Hristova, Katalin Varga, and Peter Parta, it was also dedicated to you.
I know. There must be a reason for that, right?
There must be a reason, yes, exactly. And Wolfgang, and I am so grateful to you. Really, I'm so grateful to you. So it's now it's July 16th, 2020, and we met in '89. It was actually middle of June when there was this conference. So it was more than 30 years ago. And I remember, actually, you gave me immediately books. You wrote letters to me of the way you supported me and a number of other scholars all over the world. So it is just absolutely unbelievable.
But you know, that's all. Yeah, and thank you, Anna. There is no doubt, Anna, when you write to me, or Kristalina writes to me, or Pekka writes to me, or Auti, whoever, I thrive on that, of course, too. It gives me encouragement to go on. And don't forget, even it is only natural for someone like me or you, when you get to be my age in 25 years or 20, that you have accomplished something. But I think humility is part of being successful, you know. And don't forget, I constantly learn from all the people I'm dealing with. I mean, I've learned from you. I've learned from some things you do much better than I do. I mean, that's the way it should be. But, so it's like our books, Anna. Wouldn't it be strange if I would sit here today and say, my published dissertation, that was really a great piece of work. It wasn't bad. I think it was good, but it wasn't necessarily great. So you go on, but just so you understand, I'll grant you that I've had a little bit of success, but I also know on whose shoulders I'm standing, and I'm aware of that all the time. And you can look at my writings, Anna. I never hide names like Archer Taylor. I still quote his book from 1931.
Yes.
Do I really need to do that? No, but I want to. That's the difference. Now, there will be scholars who will say, I wouldn't put a book that was published in 1931 in my bibliography. That's absurd. There are some wonderful letters, Anna. When I wrote my book called Proverbs, a Handbook, which
I have it. Yes, it's a wonderful book.
I think it's a pretty good book. I was restricted because the publisher, I could go kind of international, but the book was to be primarily English-oriented or Anglo-American oriented. But anyhow, I think it's not a bad book. Alan Dundes, for years, would say to me, Wolfgang, you have to write a new Archer Taylor book. All right. So in 1985, I finally brought out a new edition of Archer Taylor's 1931. But I'm kind of glad I did it before my friend Alan Dundes died. 1 year before he died, I published my, so to speak, replacement, which it isn't, but replacement of Taylor. But in the correspondence between Dundes and me, I used to say, Alan, I'm not ready to write that book. I think they can stand next to each other. But the classic book on the proverb is still Archer Taylor.
Yes, yes.
And
yes.
that's okay. I can live with that.
Yes.
You know?
Wolfgang, and what do you consider to be your greatest success in life?
Oh boy, what's my greatest success in life? Greatest success. You mean you want one item?
You can give 10 because everything, yeah, or
well,
20.
I think the thing that I feel good about, Anna, is that once I started studying by wanting to be a mathematician and a chemist, and then I changed to the humanities, and then maybe in my 6th semester, I decided that maybe becoming a professor would be the way to go. If I had to do it over, I would become a medical doctor. But not a surgeon, but a general practitioner. I think I would have liked that. But there too, Anna, I need to be careful. The medical profession is changing so much. I would have liked to have been what the Germans call a Hausarzt,
yes.
a doctor who makes house visits and things like that. Anyhow, but that's gone. So I think what I feel the best about from a professional point of view is I think I became a halfway decent professor. That pleases me. So, I care about my students, my colleagues, and, that I've become a good proverb scholar obviously pleases me too. But I'm not, this is kind of fun, since we talked about religion, but I am not a god who doesn't like other gods right next to him or above him. How is that?
Yeah, sounds great.
So I'm just a little guy who's been fortunate enough, Anna, healthy enough, maybe even financially speaking, well enough to do kind of things that have made a difference.
Absolutely. It has made a difference for me, and it has made a difference.
And I think it's wonderful if you're forcing me to have these thoughts, I think publishing, let's say, your newest article, or I have this African-American friend, Raymond Somerville. You already seen a couple of his papers in Proverbium.
I have met him many times.
He's kind of my mentee, I mean, he looks at me as his mentor. And we've talked about racism and so on. And just today, he sent me his newest manuscript. And for me to be able to publish that for him, I feel like I'm helping a little bit. So it isn't just the scholarship, Anna. It has never been to me. Also my books. I don't write my books because I want to be the top guru paremiologist. I write it because I want to make a statement. And the older I get, I think, Anna, you know my work, the older I get, also my articles, the more I'm willing to make a personal statement, which I didn't do maybe a young assistant professor shouldn't or couldn't. But now I feel like our book, and you do the same thing, our book on marriage. I mean, we're actually making some personal statements in there.
Yes.
I have my newest book, Anna, is a book. The subtitle is For African American Heroes. And it's Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King, Barack Obama, and Congressman John Lewis. 4 men, by chance men, it's not my fault, for people whom I really, really respect. And that's quite a personal book, actually. You know, where I very openly declare my admiration for 200 years of African American greatness. You know, so yes, I think sometimes I wish I had seen maybe that type of part of being a professor in writing in particular, maybe a little bit earlier, but it's not too late.